My heart stopped at 3:47 a.m. The hospital called my son at 3:52 a.m. Your mother's in critical condition. We need authorization for life-saving measures. My son's voice was cold. Let her go. She's lived long enough. Don't waste resources. At 3:58 a.m., a nurse hit record on her phone. At 4:02 a.m., my heart restarted. At 4:15 a.m., my son asked about my life insurance. They recorded that too. I'm glad you're here with me. Please like this video and listen to my story till the end, and let me know which city you're listening from. That way I can see how far my story has traveled. I spent 37 years building a life I was proud of. My name is Helen, and at 72 years old, I learned that my son had been waiting for me to die, planning for it, counting on it. My husband Thomas and I raised our son David in a quiet neighborhood in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Thomas was a mechanical engineer for 31 years, designing manufacturing equipment. I worked as a court stenographer for 29 years. We lived carefully, saved religiously, and built security for our future. When Thomas died 4 years ago from complications of COPD, a slow, suffocating decline that took 2 years, I inherited everything: our home, worth $580,000, Thomas's 401k and pension, totaling $1.3 million, our combined savings of $620,000, and a life insurance policy that had paid out $500,000. After 37 years of building together, I was alone, but financially secure. David had always been practical, too practical maybe. He was 35, married to Nicole, and they had one son, Jake, who was 9. David worked in insurance, specifically life insurance, and Nicole was a real estate agent. They lived in an expensive condo in Uptown, drove matching BMWs, and always seemed to be calculating something. I'd helped them generously over the years. When David wanted to start his own insurance agency 5 years ago, I invested $180,000. When they bought their condo, I gave them $160,000 for the down payment. When Jake needed specialized tutoring after being diagnosed with ADHD, I paid $24,000 for 2 years of sessions. When David's agency had a slow year, I gave him $95,000 to cover payroll. Every time, David said, "Thanks, Mom, I'll get you back." But the repayment never came, and I told myself it didn't matter. He was my son. You invest in family. Until the night my heart stopped. And David's first question wasn't, "Is she alive?" It was, "How much is her life insurance worth?" The warning signs had been escalating for months, but I'd rationalized every one of them. David had become obsessed with my finances. Every conversation somehow circled back to money. "Mom, how much do you have in your 401k now? What's the current value? Who's the beneficiary?" "You are, David. You know that." "Just checking. And the life insurance Dad left you. You still have that policy, right? The $500,000 one? I cashed it out when your father died. That's how I paid for his medical care and funeral." David's face had fallen. "You cashed it out? All of it?" "Yes." "Why?" "Nothing. I thought you'd keep it. For security." But there was something in his voice. Disappointment. Like I'd done something wrong by spending money that was mine. Nicole was worse. She'd started asking about my health constantly. "Helen, have you had a checkup recently? You look tired. You're not getting any younger. Have they checked your heart? Your lungs? Your father died of COPD, right? And Thomas died of COPD. That's genetic, isn't it? I'm fine, Nicole. I see my doctor regularly. But do you have a good life insurance policy? At your age, you should. David could help you get one. He specializes in senior policies. A life insurance policy on me, sold by my son, with my son as the beneficiary. The idea made my stomach turn. I don't need life insurance, I said firmly. I have enough saved to cover my final expenses, and everything else goes to David in my will anyway. But a policy would be immediate cash, Nicole pressed. No waiting for probate. David could access it right away. It's just smart planning. Smart planning or financial predation. Still, David kept pushing. He brought me policy proposals, highlighted ones with high payouts, $750,000, $1 million. The premiums were astronomical, $3,200 a month for a $1 million policy. David, I'm not paying $3,000 a month so you can collect $1 million when I die. It's not for me, Mom. It's for your peace of mind, knowing everything's taken care of. But I saw how he looked at those numbers, how he calculated, how he measured my life in dollar amounts. I refused to buy the policy. David stopped calling as often after that. Then came the night that changed everything. It was February 14th, Valentine's Day. I went to bed at 10 p.m. feeling fine. I woke up at 3:30 a.m. with crushing chest pain. The room was spinning. My left arm was numb. I couldn't breathe. I managed to call 911. The last thing I remember was the operator saying, "Stay on the line. Help is coming." I woke up in the ICU at Hennepin County Medical Center. A nurse was standing over me, checking monitors. When she saw my eyes open, she smiled. "Welcome back, Mrs. Patterson. You gave us quite a scare." "What happened?" "You had a severe cardiac event. Your heart stopped in the ambulance. The paramedics got it restarted. You arrested again in the ER. We resuscitated you a second time. You've been unconscious for 6 hours. 2 cardiac arrests. Unconscious for 6 hours. I'd come very close to dying." "Does my son know?" The nurse's smile disappeared. "Yes. We called him as your emergency contact. He was here earlier. He left about an hour ago." Something in her voice was wrong. Careful, like she was choosing her words deliberately. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. You're stable now. Dr. Chen will be in soon to discuss your treatment." She left quickly, too quickly. Dr. Michael Chen arrived 20 minutes later. He was young, maybe 40, with kind eyes and a serious expression. "Mrs. Patterson, I'm glad you're awake. You had a very serious cardiac event. We've stabilized you, but we need to discuss what happened." 2 cardiac arrests? "Yes, and Mrs. Patterson, I need to tell you something. It's unusual, but my staff felt you needed to know." My heart monitor beeped faster. "What?" Dr. Chen pulled up a chair. "When you arrived, you were in critical condition. Your heart had stopped twice. Hospital protocol requires us to contact the emergency contact for authorization to continue aggressive life-saving measures. We called your son." And his response was concerning. Concerning enough that the nurse who took the call recorded it. Hospitals aren't supposed to record these calls without consent. But she felt something was very wrong. She was right. He pulled out his phone. "I'm going to play you the recording. It's difficult to hear, but you need to know what your son said." He pressed play. I heard the nurse's voice. "Mr. Patterson, this is Hennepin County Medical Center. Your mother, Helen Patterson, is in critical condition. Her heart stopped twice. We've resuscitated her, but she's unstable. We need your authorization to continue life-saving measures if her heart stops again. David's voice clear and cold. What's her condition exactly? Critical. She's unconscious. We have her on a ventilator. Her prognosis is uncertain. If she survives, what's her quality of life going to be? It's too early to say, but she's responding to treatment. If she survives as a vegetable, that's not living. That's just draining her assets on medical care. Let her go. Don't waste resources. She's 72. She's lived long enough. The nurse's voice shocked. Sir, your mother is responding to treatment. She has a chance of recovery. I'm her emergency contact. I'm making the decision. DNR, do not resuscitate. If her heart stops again, let it stop. Am I clear? Mr. Patterson, I need to inform you that we can't honor a DNR given over the phone when the patient hasn't. Then get it in writing. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Prepare the paperwork. The recording continued. I heard David arrive at the hospital, heard him demand the DNR forms, heard the nurse stalling, saying she needed to find the forms, buying time. Then I heard David's voice again, talking to Nicole on his phone. She's not going to make it. The doctor said critical condition, probably brain damage. Even if she wakes up, she'll be incompetent. We can get conservatorship, control the assets, make decisions. This might actually work out better than a clean death. The recording continued. David on the phone again, this time calling someone else. Hey, it's David. My mom's in the hospital. Probably not going to make it. Listen, I need you to run some numbers for me. Her estate's worth about $2.5 million. No life insurance, unfortunately, but the assets are liquid. If we can get conservatorship, we can access them immediately. What's the fastest way to liquidate her holdings? He was planning my estate distribution while I was unconscious, while my heart was struggling to keep beating. The recording ended. I lay in that hospital bed, tears running down my face, my chest tight with something that had nothing to do with my heart attack. My son had wanted me to die, and when it looked like I might survive, he started planning how to take control of my assets anyway. Dr. Chen waited while I processed what I'd heard. Finally, he spoke. Mrs. Patterson, what your son did is elder abuse, financial exploitation, possibly attempted murder through medical neglect. The nurse was right to record it. We've reported this to Adult Protective Services. They're opening an investigation. Where's David now? He left when we told him you were responding well to treatment. He seemed disappointed. Disappointed because I'd survived. What happens now? You recover. We've placed a flag on your file. David can't make any medical decisions for you. We've also notified hospital security not to allow him access to your room without your explicit permission, and you need to contact your attorney immediately. Change your emergency contact, your will, everything. A nurse brought me a phone. I called my attorney, Margaret Williams, from my hospital bed. Margaret, I need you at the hospital, now, and bring a notary. I'm changing everything. Margaret arrived 3 hours later with her paralegal and a mobile notary. Dr. Chen provided written documentation of my mental competency. The nurse who'd recorded David's calls provided certified copies of the recordings. We spent 4 hours rewriting my entire estate plan. David received $5,000, enough that he couldn't claim oversight. Everything else went into trusts. An educational trust for Jake managed by Margaret until he turned 25. Donations to cardiac research at Hennepin County Medical Center, and a fund to help other elder abuse victims. I changed my emergency contact to Margaret, my healthcare proxy to Dr. Chen, my power of attorney to Margaret's law partner. I created a detailed living will specifying exactly when I would and wouldn't want life-sustaining treatment. No one would ever again have the power to decide my fate based on their financial interests. We filed everything that same day. By the time David thought to check, he'd already lost everything. David came to the hospital the next morning. Security stopped him at my door. "I'm her son. I have a right." "Mrs. Patterson has requested no visitors except those on her approved list. You're not on the list." David's face went red. "This is ridiculous. I'm her emergency contact." "Not anymore. Mrs. Patterson has updated all her emergency contacts and medical directives. If you don't leave voluntarily, we'll call the police." David left, but he called my room phone 20 minutes later. I answered. "Mom, what the hell is going on?" "I heard the recording, David." Silence. Then, "What recording?" "The one where you told the hospital to let me die. The one where you called me a drain on resources. The one where you started liquidating my assets before my body was even cold." "Mom, you don't understand the context." "I understand perfectly. You wanted me to die so you could inherit. And when it looked like I'd survive, you planned to have me declared incompetent so you could steal everything anyway. That's not... You're being paranoid." "I have recordings, David. Multiple recordings of everything you said, everything you planned. And I've changed my will, my emergency contacts, everything. You're getting $5,000. That's it." A long pause. Then his voice cold and angry. "You're making a huge mistake. I'm your only family. You're going to die alone, and I won't be there. Is that what you want?" "I'd rather die alone than die at your hands. Goodbye, David." I hung up, blocked his number, and felt something inside me settle. A terrible, final peace. The investigation moved quickly. Adult Protective Services reviewed the hospital recordings, interviewed staff, examined David's financial records. What they found was damning. David's insurance agency was failing. He'd lost his largest client 6 months ago. He had $320,000 in business debt. He'd borrowed against his condo. His BMW was being repossessed. He was facing bankruptcy. He needed money desperately, and my death would have solved all his problems. The district attorney filed charges, attempted elder abuse through medical neglect, fraud, conspiracy to commit financial exploitation. But the most devastating charge came from the recordings themselves. David's comments about letting her go and not wasting resources while I was critical constituted attempted negligent homicide in Minnesota. By refusing life-saving treatment for financial gain, he'd essentially tried to kill me. David was arrested on March 3rd, 2 weeks after my heart attack. The media loved the story. Insurance agent charged after trying to let mother die for inheritance. Nicole filed for divorce immediately, claimed she knew nothing. The recording suggested otherwise, but prosecutors couldn't prove her direct involvement. Jake went to live with Nicole's mother. I've tried to maintain contact. Nicole blocks everything, but the trust is there, waiting for him. The trial began in July, 5 months after the night my heart stopped. and David tried to make sure it stayed stopped. The recordings were played in open court. The jury heard David's cold voice. "Let her go. She's lived long enough. Don't waste resources." They heard him planning my estate distribution while I was unconscious. They heard him discuss liquidating my holdings before I was even confirmed dead. The nurse who'd recorded the calls testified, explained why she'd felt compelled to document what was happening. I've been a cardiac ICU nurse for 17 years. I've seen a lot of families make difficult end-of-life decisions. But this wasn't that. Mrs. Patterson was responding to treatment. She had a good prognosis. Her son didn't want to let her go because she was suffering. He wanted to let her go because he wanted her money. Dr. Chen testified about my condition, my prognosis, the fact that David's DNR order was premature and inappropriate. The financial investigator testified about David's debts, his failing business, his motive. I testified for 2 hours, told my story calmly, clearly, answered every question. The defense tried to paint David as overwhelmed, making a difficult decision under stress. But the recordings destroyed that narrative. His voice was calm, calculated, especially when discussing my assets. The jury deliberated for 90 minutes, guilty on all counts. David was sentenced to 9 years in state prison. Minnesota's elder abuse laws are strict, and the attempted negligent homicide charge carried a heavy sentence. Judge Catherine Morrison was unsparing. "Mr. Patterson, you used your position as emergency contact to attempt to end your mother's life for financial gain. You didn't just betray her trust. You attempted to murder her through medical negligence. You calculated her worth in dollars while she was fighting for her life. This sentence reflects the depravity of your actions. David's insurance agency closed. His condo was foreclosed. His assets liquidated to pay debts. Nicole moved to Arizona with Jake. I've written letters, sent gifts. Jake will get them someday, along with his trust fund and the truth. I hope he understands. I hope he knows I loved him even when I couldn't protect him from knowing what his father really was." That was 11 months ago. I'm 73 now. My heart is strong, doctor. Chen says I'm a medical miracle. I walk every day. I volunteer at the hospital, visiting cardiac patients, sharing my story, reminding them that survival is worth fighting for. I've become an advocate for patient rights. I give talks about emergency contacts, healthcare directives, the importance of choosing people who value your life over your assets. I think about that night constantly, my heart stopping at 3:47 a.m. The hospital calling David at 3:52 a.m. His immediate calculation, is she worth more to me alive or dead? And his decision, dead. She's worth more dead. If that nurse hadn't recorded the call, if Dr. Chen had followed David's DNR order, if my heart had stopped one more time, I'd be dead. David would have inherited everything, and no one would have known he'd let me die for money. But I survived, and I made sure everyone knew exactly what he'd done. Looking back now, I understand what happened. I'd loved David so completely that I'd never considered he might see me as a financial asset rather than his mother. I'd assumed that providing for him, supporting him, helping him build his life meant he'd care about mine. But to David, I was an investment, and investments are only valuable when they pay out. The greatest lesson I've learned: your emergency contact can be a life or death decision. Choose someone who will fight for your life. not someone who's counting your assets. Document your wishes clearly and legally, and never assume family members will act in your best interest when money is involved. My legacy isn't the money I saved or the assets I protected. It's in the example I've left, that you can survive betrayal, come back from death, and hold people accountable even when it breaks your heart, that your life has value beyond your bank account. That age doesn't diminish your right to fight, to survive, to choose yourself. What would you do if you discovered your child had tried to let you die? If you'd heard those words, "Let her go. Don't waste resources," would you have the courage to fight back, to prosecute, to choose life even when it meant losing your only child? Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it gives someone else the strength to review their emergency contacts, to protect themselves legally, to understand that your life is worth more than any inheritance. You deserve to be saved, always.